Just preparing to live stream. Hold on, please. Setting up your meeting for YouTube Live. 1 second. Down record to the YouTube. Just preparing to live stream. Okay, we're live on YouTube. Setting up your meeting for YouTube Live. 1 second. Okay. Can you see your picture there? To the YouTube. Just preparing to live stream. There you go. Okay, we're live on YouTube. Setting up your meeting for YouTube Live. 1 second. Can you see your picture there? To the YouTube. It's having a feedback. Okay. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, this is Bradford Atkins from Swiss in the City, and I'm YouTubing live streaming live from Los Angeles. And today we have one of the judges in the recently concluded preliminary competition for the Miss Earth 2020. He is an international designer and is the official designer and creative director of Miss Universe Sweden. His designs were seen worldwide, like the New York Fashion Week, TLV Fashion Week, Swedish TV and Film Awards, and his famous Jerusalem dress was Israeli Culture Minister at Festival de Cannes. Acknowledged by Her Majesty Sylvia, Queen of Sweden, and Senator of Guam for extraordinary contribution to the arts. He is also top 5 Best National Costume nominee 3 times at the Miss Universe. He designed for Miss Israel, Germany, Austria, Denmark, and Guam, also Great Britain, Sweden, and New Mexico, USA. And he also designed state costumes for dance, theater, musicals, and TV, and to the world's famous fashion icon, Barbie, in Mattel's musical Barbie Live. Ladies and gentlemen, live from Israel, here's Mr. AVIAD ARIK HERMAN. How are you, AVIAD?
Mabuhay. Thank you for having me over in your show today. I'm doing very well, thank you.
Okay, you said Mabuhay. Have you been to the Philippines ever?
I have been to the Philippines 3 times, fortunately. Only in Manila though, but I had a really, really wonderful experience. The first time I visited was for the Miss Universe pageant in 2016. And I later returned twice working on on costumes for the musical Les Miserables that was produced on Guam, but a decent portion of it was done in the Philippines. It was directed by a Filipino director, Mr. Jojo Urquico. So I had a wonderful, loving, very, very beautiful memories from the Philippines.
I was there in 2016. It was when Miss France won, right?
Right, yes.
Where did you stay? I didn't see you.
At the Conrad.
Oh, you were the Conrad. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Where did I stay?
And Miss France at that pageant was roommates with Miss Israel, which I was her designer that year. So I got to meet them both.
So you had a very close encounter with Miss France.
Yes, indeed. We went to have burgers on their free night.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
Do you have any premonition that she's gonna win?
I mean, she's well deserved, and she indeed was crowned. So, but I guess all those beautiful, wonderful contestants that make it to get to that point and that level, they're all eligible for the crown. So.
Were you there the whole time? The 2 weeks?
For about a week.
Okay, same here. I flew all the way from San Francisco to Manila to watch.
Yeah, that was really a fantastic production, though. I think that was really, really impressive, and it was also it was really a great experience to to get the real feel of how the Philippines really worship this pageant and how it was celebrated and how it was executed and the whole buzz around it. I mean, media channels like in the top level that were there. It's it's been definitely one of the most important things happening in the world. So,
Yeah, it's a big fiesta.
pardon?
It's a big fiesta. It's a big event.
Yes.
So did you go to the swimsuit competition held in Cebu?
No, no, I arrived later, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
attended the national costume and the preliminary as well as the finals.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah. So you went to the Conrad fashion show as well?
That
Well,
one that was also before I arrived.
oh, that was before you arrived. Okay.
Yes.
Well, anyway, we are here to talk about the 2020 Miss Earth preliminary competition national costume event, wherein you were one of the judges for the African continent. So, how was it? Can you describe in full detail the feeling of
Full detail.
doing it virtually instead of in person?
Yeah. Well, first of all, really, this is something to acknowledge that with everything that's happening in the world right now and the consequences on public and cultural and entertainment events, that's something definitely to acknowledge the commitment and all the efforts for the foundation to really put together and make it happen. That there is still a beauty pageant happening when under such restrictions. So the format of a beauty pageant that is virtual and done online has been very interesting. It's similar to what we are now doing. It's just that there is multiple participants, and you have to bear in mind that there are some technical challenges sometimes that occur, and one has to be patient with that as well. It's the nature of live shows to begin with, and just adding on top of that the internet and such technical elements. That made it quite an interesting experience. But I have been, when I received the invitation by the Miss Earth Foundation, and I was feeling very, very privileged and honored to get the invitation to be a judge at the national costume competition. Previous years, my costumes were also competing at Miss Earth, so it was also fun to return as a jury member. And indeed, the African continent, for me, it was a very touching and moving experience, because I think that in addition to all the challenges that I just mentioned, there's a great sense of passion and creativity among the contestants from the African region, that you could really see how it was manifested through their personality as well as the costumes they were wearing. Um, and at the end of the show, each judge had an opportunity to say a few words. So I indeed congratulated the contestants, but it was also important for me to acknowledge the designers and anyone who has been a part of, create the creation of those national costumes. Some of the contestants were involved with designing their costumes themselves. Um, and I think this is also something quite nice, and to see the display of the creativity and this different way of artistic expressions through the craft of costume design.
Okay. In reality, there are 54 countries or more that comprise Africa in this year's edition of Miss Earth. How many represented Africa in the
So
national?
this year there were 13 countries that participated.
That's a lot.
Pardon?
That's a lot. 13.
Yeah. But
So
it was still. I recommend you to look at the recorded show, because I think that the Miss Earth did a pretty good job with the way they edited it. So the footage, in a way, if we are used to seeing how national costume competitions are usually held in the context of a beauty pageant, on stage or wherever it will be produced at that moment in time, what they were able to do this time was to use video footage that was pre-recorded. So there was another dimension that enhanced the costume. So the contestants were able to record themselves against whether it is natural locations or like symbolic locations in their home countries that correlate to their costumes. So there was something a lot more cohesive about the way it was presented, as opposed to having the costume on a context of a stage, if that makes sense.
it makes sense. May I ask you, are you even allowed to talk about it? Can you give me feedback, like who's your top five on your list?
I am not really allowed to do that,
You're allowed. That's okay.
but and the way that it's been done is that we got our score sheets and we have to submit that and to the Miss Earth Foundation, and I guess that once they're done with the different continents, they are going to announce the winners of each category. So,
We're strictly
but
in.
I definitely want to say, if you're asking, I like I said before, it is something that I noticed and I acknowledged the contestants that um, I appreciate the ongoing commitment to recreate and find new interesting ways to to create national costumes that we might anticipate what they would be like, that we are pretty perhaps used to, and there's perhaps obvious cultural emblems that are tended to be recycled. So uh, there's there's a few countries that definitely did a good job with how they uh, took this forward and reinvented their traditional um, outfits.
Okay, makes sense. So, how was your experience so far judging the national costume competition? Can you summarize it in one word?
In one word,
Yeah,
it's been a pleasure.
that's a lot of words.
A pleasure.
That's two words.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Just
Full of
kidding.
wonders. It's wonderful. That's the word.
So, when are they going to announce the winner of the African continent national costume competition?
Pardon, can you repeat the question?
When are they going to announce? When are they going to announce?
I'm not sure about when and where. They did break out the different continents for with the segment. So I suppose that once they're done with all of them and they get the scores from the different sets of judges, they are either going to do it at the preliminary or perhaps on the coronation night.
So, let me just imagine it. When you were judging the national costume competition candidates, were they on tape? They're not live, right? They were recorded
So
from
that
their
that
own
was that.
countries.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, that was actually a combination. Um, the host would represent the contestant or the country rather. Then there will be a pre-recorded video showcasing the contestant in her national costume, and that's the beautiful footage I was talking about earlier. And once that 30 seconds video is over, the contestants went live with us, just like that, on Zoom or via Zoom, dressed in her national costume against their national flag. and then they had the stage to to speak out and share about the costume and their own country. So that was also quite an interesting um, way that it was done. It was a very personal and a pretty generous platform for them to express all they had to say.
Okay. So I'm trying to imagine the costumes. Were there a lot of colors? You know, greens, reds, yellows?
Indeed, there was a pretty vast scale of interpretations. Indeed, in a lot of African cultures, there's the colors are and vivid colors are pretty integrated. But on the contrary, there is a lot of costumes that are very tribal and very minimalistic when it comes to the materials that they are made of. Some literal natural materials. So it was also interesting to see the scale and the diversity, even though one would expect to see a certain type of costumes when it comes to the African continent. Um, and it was also very interesting to see uh, contemporary and fashionable interpretations of old traditional costumes, which I personally I also appreciate that there is the creatives responsible for those are looking for new ways to honor their tradition, but give it a modern look or correlate that to other meaningful aspects.
Okay, given your international design exposure and all that, sitting as a judge, looking at your list, who scored the highest as far as, do not name the country, as far as design, integration of color, culture, and the goals of the pageant? Which one hit the top of your list? I mean, which girl, without naming the country?
Well, in like you were saying, and the way I approach that, and also bear in mind that I myself am responsible for numerous national costumes that were competing in the quite a few pageants in the last few years, and the way that I approach this challenge each time is um, is a combination of quite a few elements that I try to put all together uh, through, facilitating this costume eventually. And this is the way I also look at the contestants and how they present their costume. In this case, also they had a pretty, as I said, a pretty generous platform to express in words and share about it. Whereas in other pageants, sometimes that doesn't happen. Um, and Yeah, I mean, for sure, the aesthetic part of it, the design, the way that it is executed, of course, the colors, that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be colorful, whatever colors the costume happens to be, it's what it is. But the entire package, the concept, the way it is produced and put together, the way it fits the contestant, the way that the contestants carries out and performs the costume. All, I take it all into consideration. And so when I see a very high level of excellency through all of those, then I'm very likely to get most points in
Okay,
my scores.
were there a lot of really, really big, huge, giant costume, heavy costume, you know, like almost like an infrastructure costume. Were there a lot of those?
I didn't hear you.
Were there a lot of really, really big costumes, like the giant costumes, you know? Or were they just small,
Oh,
easy?
okay. Actually, this time, none of the costumes were really in this genre of gigantic costumes.
Yeah.
Usually they come from other parts in the world and suggested. And I think that this is also a value that I appreciate, and I'm happy about being appointed to judge the African continent. It had to do a lot with being humble. I think that it proves to show that you can still celebrate and honor your tradition and the beauty of your heritage and bring messages or values to the attention of the world, but it doesn't necessarily need to be in size. It's not necessarily the size that matters or the scale, but the very essence. And so what I find in common among the African delegates is that there's a very humble way of executing their costumes. None of them really went for big, massive, you know, the biggest, the tallest, the heaviest, but rather the very essence and core, pure representation of it.
Very well said. So after Miss Earth
Thank you.
judging, what is next for Mr. Aviad? What is on the horizon? Yeah.
Okay, so that's a great question. And if you don't know, there's a world pandemic going on that's affecting pretty much the cultural and the artistic and entertainment field. No, I'm just joking, of course. Unfortunately, of course, it's been affecting everybody as well as myself. I am currently in Israel, and I
Where,
started working on a new musical theater piece here in Israel.
where in Israel?
Pardon?
Jerusalem or Tel Aviv? Where are you in Jerusalem, in Israel? Which city?
I am right now in a city called Ashkelon. I'm in a city called Ashkelon. It's on the coast. It is south of Tel Aviv. Have you ever been to Israel?
No, but I got a lot of friends who've been to Israel, and I've heard a lot of things, good things.
Okay, so you're welcome to visit. You're welcome to visit. It's a really beautiful country, and it's a very small country. Also, talking about size doesn't matter. It is a very small country. It is very easy to travel throughout the country and see different places, amazing nature. There are amazing people and amazing food. So you're welcome as soon as it is possible to
And
travel freely.
the Philippines and Israel are very friendly with each other. We get a lot of
Yes,
history
indeed.
in us, you know. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, I hope you
That's
stay
true.
safe. Do you have anything else to say before we conclude this interview? Oh, before we end this interview, I would like to remind everyone, the public, to watch the Miss Earth International pageant. Preliminary
Um,
competition is happening in what, 5 days, right? 6 days from now, right? November 24, right?
I am not sure about the date. I'm sorry. I think so.
Yeah,
I think so, and I think that the 29th is the coronation night, I think.
yeah.
But I
So
would like to thank you for having me uh, over at your show, and it's been a pleasure to speak with you. And thank you to all your viewers for following. And you are welcome also to follow me on my Instagram and social media channels. Hopefully, there will be new exciting things coming up to do, as well as the Miss Universe 2020 that I very much look forward to. And maraming salamat.
yeah, I would like to thank our common friend Dion Trinidad of New York for the introduction, and also want to say hi warmly to the organizers of Miss Earth, Mr. Ramon Monsor and Lorraine Shock. Hi, Tita. Kumusta po? Thank you, Aviad, and have a good night or good morning or
Thank
good
you.
day.
Thank you.
What
You
time is it
too.
now there? What time is it there now?
It is 4 p.m.
Okay, I'm almost 6 a.m. here. Well,
So you
anyway,
better
thank
get
you
some
again.
sleep finally.
Yeah, I will. Thank you so much. How do you
Thank you
say
very
goodbye?
much.
How do you say goodbye in Israel? How do you say goodbye in Israel
In
land?
Hebrew, you can. I'll teach you an easy word that you can use both as hello and goodbye. You can say shalom.
Oh yeah, shalom. Yeah, yeah, shalom. I've heard that before. Shalom. SHA.
Shalom. You can use shalom.
LOM. Shalom. It's both hello and goodbye.
Yes,
Kind of like mabuhay. Okay, shalom,
correct.
Abiel.
Shalom.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.